Welcome to the Peaceful Wellness Podcast with me, your host, Deb Phelps. If you are ready to unite with your true nature and find the calm you need to go through this journey called life, then walk a while with me as we learn to be resilient with mind, body, spirit modalities. I am a meditation teacher, mindfulness coach, sound healer, yoga specialist, and these and other modalities have helped me to truly find peaceful wellness within. So let's take a mindful approach together now. Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the Peaceful Wellness Podcast. This is Deb Phelps, your host. And with me today, I have a special guest that I'm really thrilled that she's with me. I've known her for some time. It's Lovan. So hi, Lauren. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Deb.
I am so thrilled that we're here because your main thing you love to talk about is self-love. And that's what really drives you. It's even in your name, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Lovan.
It is.
Yeah. So, you were telling me that you have been working on a book. You have a book coming out this month, right?
Yes. It is called Recognize Your Inner Badass. Because
I love that title, by the way.
Yeah. We all have a badass within us, and we just need to tap in to find her. And yeah, it's all about self-love and the components that go into just learning to love yourself and accepting yourself.
Why was this a subject that was so intriguing for you that you wrote a book about it?
I think that, well, for me personally, like just going through my own journey, I had a bad relationship a couple of years prior, and coming out of that, like, I just, I don't know, it was a lot of healing, and I had realized that I really wasn't like in tune with my body and aware of my body, and I really wanted to be. And so through yoga, I became aware of my body, and I think that helped me to eventually start loving my body. And then from there, it went inward to where I started to love myself. And I think it's really important for women of all ages, and especially like really young girls, like in high school, very impressionable age, but all ages of women, like we all need to like recognize how amazing that we are. And, we want to like, our nature is to help and nurture other people. And we have to remember to do that for ourselves first, or we won't be able to do that for others. And I just think that self-love is something that's really important to cultivate and practice, because it just grows you as a woman and your confidence and just how you learn to take on the world and just who you are.
I agree totally. I in the work that I've done with women over the years, like most of my clients over the years have been women, 99%, I would say. And even those of us that are older, we have a lot of trouble with that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of trouble with even knowing what we're feeling. And I talked about that in my last episode about we don't know what we're feeling, because we were told, don't feel this. And so jumping into this topic, it's the same thing. We don't know how to love ourselves because we have been the caretakers, like you said. We're the nurturers. We're the ones that do everything for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so you came to that because of this bad relationship. And so through that practice of yoga, mind, body, spirit really coming into play there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think too, like, I think that sometimes, we think like society has put it on us that like loving yourself is selfish, or it's like, you put that, like, you feel guilty if you like gave time to yourself that day or whatever it is, like something that makes you happy, like going outside, going on a hike, or like just having like 5 minutes of alone time in the bathroom, like, just, and it's like hard and not to feel that guilt. But I think like the dictionary defines self-love as a respect and for oneself and like well-being. And it's that it's a characteristic to be desired. It's not narcissistic. And I think that a lot of people don't get that. And so I think it's just like, it's really important to know that it's not a bad quality to seek. And it's not bad to like seek who you are and know yourself inside and out and just love who you are. Because if you don't love who you are, like, how can anyone love you? Like, if you don't respect who you are, how can anyone respect you?
RuPaul
Yeah.
says something like that. How the hell are you going to? I forget how his saying goes right now, but if you don't love yourself, how the hell is anybody else going to love you? Basically, something like that. Somebody correct me on that. But yeah, that's the thing. So are there other practices, or were there any anything that was influential as you were going through? I mean, you said the yoga. Were there any book authors or workshops or anything like that that you acquired that helped you along the path?
Well, yeah. So it started with yoga and like working out. So definitely movement.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then it was about, for me, creating a self-care routine that looked like having like just like taking a shower after I work out or do yoga, and then just being alone for a bit and
Mhm.
giving myself a foot rub or a shoulder massage,
Mhm.
using essential oils, putting on lotion, and just sitting in the quiet. I think that is like really, really imperative on your journey to self-love, because you're learning to give that love to yourself and show yourself love. Because, like everybody has at least 5 minutes in their day. And I don't think there's an excuse not to give that 5 minutes to yourself, just to rejuvenate, reset after the day or in the beginning of the day. And I think it's just really important. And then from there, like after you're comfortable doing that and like, oh, okay, like I can do this for myself and it's good, then you can like expand that practice. So like for me, that looks like making sure I go outside and sit in the sun every day, going out in nature and exploring new places. Like that stuff, like that sets my soul on fire. And it's important to incorporate those things into your day to day so you can function.
Well, that's what I tell people about meditation. The same thing, that's part of a self-care, self-love routine is when we take time for meditation, taking that. And I always say 5 minutes a day, start off with 5 minutes a day. And that can make a huge difference in how we approach our day. So the same thing with self-care, like what you described, the little routine, it's setting our day, setting our intention, so to speak, for our day is that I'm important.
Yeah.
I'm important. And we forget that so much because, maybe we're on Zoom calls all day. Maybe we are back in the office, or we're taking care of a family, whatever we're doing. And there's just, sometimes we allow the busyness, and we're coming into the holiday season.
Right.
There's just so much busyness around us that we forget that 5 minutes is a help. It could be longer than that.
Yeah.
I did a yoga nidra practice with a class today, and the title of it was Permission to Rest.
Yeah. Yep.
We have to give ourselves permission to rest because of everything we just described, the busyness that we have. It's like we need to do that. And we're writing right now, everybody, all the listeners here, we are writing out a permission slip for you to take time for yourself,
Yes.
self-care, self-love, like Lauren's talking about.
Yeah. It's all about the balance too. Like even with like working out and doing like these really hard like vinyasa yoga practices, and then just to remember to do like some yin yoga and restorative yoga, and to take a break from like the heavy lifting. And it's like the same in life, just having that reset in that time is how you're showing yourself love and caring for yourself.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, but we forget about all these things, and it's so important, as I said before, that we do that which we do for others.
Mhm.
Say we know someone who is sick or they're having a hard time. We are so kind and we're generous to those. Maybe we take a meal to them. Maybe we take a gift to them. Help
Yeah.
them out with chores or whatever it may be. But we forget that we need that too.
Mhm.
We forget that. And one of the things I finally did since before COVID, was I had actually it was a Abhyanga massage last night,
Mm.
well, late afternoon. And it was just so grounding. It was so grounding and I just loved it. It was so nice. And I'm like, okay, I found somebody else now, because the other gal, she closed up because of COVID. And it's like, okay, now I can do this, and I can do this I already set up my appointment for the end of the month for my birthday. So I'll have a
Yay.
longer time. But it's important to set up these things, put them into place. And the
Yeah.
couple of people that I've already told about, they're like, I really should do that for myself.
Yes.
I really should do that for myself. And what excuses do we have? I mean,
Exactly.
sometimes it's money, but there are ways to do self-care that
Yeah.
doesn't cost a lot of money. Do you have
Yeah.
any ideas on what people could do for self-love in that way, self-care?
Yeah. I just think like, you can take a warm shower, you can listen to some music, your favorite music, you can dance around. I think it's fun to dance because, just be crazy, just be yourself, like tap into like your inner badass and just work it, go try something new that you've never done before or that you've always wanted to do that like freaks you out. um do that thing. I love being outside, so some hikes cost like some money to park at the trailhead, but others don't, and so you just have to like search it out and like find and just be willing and open to just do things, and whatever feels good to you, just make time for that. Like my mom, she loves listening to the birds sing. So she'll like have all the bird feeders around so they'll come and do their thing. And, just like,
Mhm.
just, just be, don't put pressure on it. If you love reading, read. If you want to write, write, meditate, um, move your body. And I think that it's important, instead of saying like, oh, I should really do this or I should do that, I think that adds like a certain level of like guilt, because you're like, oh, I'm not doing that. Oh no, blah, blah, blah. So I think instead of saying like, I should, you should just be like, I just said should. You can be like, I want to do this for myself. And when you turn it into a want, it takes all the pressure off, and you want to do it. And if you didn't have time that day, that's okay. You can do it tomorrow, so then you don't feel like hard on yourself. You're not hard on yourself. Um, and I think too, it will actually like lead you to actually do the thing, like the massage, like you want to do it. So you're going to do it. And then you'll thank yourself for it. And I think it's important to like to remember that self-love is like having that relationship with yourself, and just like any other relationship in your life that you want to nourish and like take care of and make sure is like super awesome, then like you need to do that with yourself too. And it's super easy to forget to like do that maintenance with your own relationship with yourself, you
Mhm.
know um so yeah, it's like, and I'm guilty of like falling off a wagon, like, oh, what? I haven't exercised this in a while, and it's like, you just have to remember that the relationship with yourself is like you're like the most important person in the room. So you need to know you so you can like understand what you need and what you want out of your romantic relationships, your friendships, your family relationships, all of that plays in your relationship with God and everything. It just all goes together.
Yeah, it's really is that relationship with ourself that we have to continue to cultivate.
Mhm.
Uh, and, I'll be 58 this year, or at the end of the
Yay.
month, I should say. And, those were things that were frowned upon. We
Yeah.
talk about the self-love, the self-care, but having that relationship
Mhm.
as well. And so I know for me, it took time to
Yeah.
really come into that place of, wow, yeah, I can love myself. And it took a mentor of mine, a
Yeah.
former Buddhist monk who, I was meeting with him, and I was describing all the things that I do and I teach and all this, and he's looking at me and he's looking at me and he says, I know what you need to work on, and it's loving kindness for
Mhm.
myself.
Mhm.
And so that's when, and I've told this story before, but it's like that's when I embarked on a long journey of only practicing loving kindness, many months of
Yeah.
practicing loving kindness, because I did not have that. I'm generous, I love to help people. I love to help nurture people, encourage people, etc.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I did not do it for myself.
Yeah.
And so we need something to step us out
Right.
of that, and in your case, it was this relationship
Mhm.
that kind of made you kind of pivot. For me, it was my mentor who helped me to pivot in some way. And maybe listeners, there's a pivot right now in your life. Maybe it's listening to what we're talking about
Mhm.
that will make you see how important and beautiful and lovely you really are.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see that. I know I have PTSD and I've had trauma too. And I know it's hard to see that when there's been so much sadness and self-hatred and all of that that goes with that when we go through those horrible experiences. But the thing is, what rises to the surface, just like the phoenix rising as well, you can rise and you can rise and look at yourself and say, yeah, I deserve this. And
Yeah.
we don't shut on ourselves anymore. And we recognize our inner badass
Yeah.
that's within. What made you come up with that title? It's such a cool title. I love it.
I don't know. Like, I just am like, I don't know. It just popped in my head, I guess. Um, like it's been my mantra since 2020. So I was like, okay, it's what it's gonna be named. And yeah, because like I just feel like, we all have a badass and just being a badass, just like your worth, you know that you are worthy, that doesn't come from external things, that comes from inside yourself, it comes from God. It just that is that you are worthy, period.
You're
You
confident.
yes,
Confidence.
you're confident.
Yeah.
It's you have your self-esteem, self-respect. You know what you want, you know what you need, and then it's just like maintaining those pillars and not letting anything hinder them or bring you down. You don't let, you're not going to play small anymore. Like you're going to start playing big in the best way. And you're just claiming that. And, you're just not going to stand for breadcrumbs. You're not going to stand for any BS because you love yourself, you know your worth, and you're not going to settle. You're just like, nope, not going to happen. And I think like once you have that mindset, like it really changes the game. And then
Mhm.
you just start like taking opportunities, you start going for things, even though it scares you, you still try and you go forth. And that's like, to me, that's the definition of being a badass.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
so you experienced all of those yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's how you came to know. Any stories you want to tell around that?
about being a badass.
Yeah, about, where you came to a place where you knew you were confident you were just going to try something and do it.
Okay, so the thing that comes to mind, okay, so I have a 2012 Jeep Wrangler, and her name is Swallowtail, and she's construction yellow.
Love
So
it.
I got her like 2 years ago, and she was my dream car. Okay. And I always wanted to go off-roading. So right when I got her, I like signed up for this club that's in my community. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. And it took me like a year to get up the courage to actually go and do, because, I didn't know anybody. I'm kind of like I like an introverted extrovert, I guess. I don't know. It really depends on the people that I'm around. But after like getting like a lot more confidence and, practicing this stuff, I was like, all right, I'm ready. I'm going to go. So I went for my first run of May this year, and runs are rated from like 1 to 10, 10 being like the like most extreme. And so this one was like a 3, like a 3-4. And I'm a newbie, never done this. So like whenever I'm nervous, my coping mechanism, I just like turn my music up really loud. I'm going for it. And then like, I add humor in because it helps.
Right.
So yeah. So like I started doing, so I just followed the dudes because you go in a line. And so I just went up these like big, huge rocks and like this big hill that I got stuck on, which was scary because the hill was really steep. And I was totally stuck. But then like I conquered the hill, and all these so my group is like a bunch of old dudes, basically, like really old dudes that can like, some of them can barely walk, and they're doing crazy stuff out there in a Jeep. I'm like, dude, whoa, respect. But anyway, when I got up the hill, they were all cheering for me. They're like, yeah, you did it. And, it was just really cool. And then like, afterward they're like, you've done this before, right? My like first time, and they're like, oh my gosh, you are so awesome. It was just really fun. So like to me, like I put myself in a whole new situation where I didn't know a single soul, and I didn't even know how to do the sport, and I just went for it, and I trusted in myself, I trusted in my Jeep, and I like said some prayers.
That always helps.
Yeah. And then just like listen to my music and just enjoy the scenery. And it was like the most like amazing day I ever had. Like it was just amazing. So yeah. So that's my example of one of my examples of being a badass.
That's a pretty cool story. That's badass to the extreme. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. But it could be as simple as writing that book that you want to, that somebody wants to write, or doing something other creative endeavor that you've always wanted to do, but you've held yourself back.
Yeah.
And whether maybe it's a podcast, whatever it is. Buying a house. It could be anything, right? And knowing that you can do it, just step out there, get your toes out there and do it and see what happens. And there are times that, hey, things don't always turn out the way we want them to. And it's like, but we tried. See, that's something like for me, I've always tried different things. Well, let's see how this works. Let's see how this works. I mean, that's how I got to fix computers years ago, is because I was just trying things and doing them. And that's how I then ended up doing web design too, is that I'll just try this. Let's see what happens. And same thing with everything else that I've ever done. It's like, I'll just try and see what happens. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's experiment. I look at everything as an experiment.
Right. Yeah.
Because when you look at an experiment, you're just going to see what's going to happen. You're not trying to get a specific outcome. Right. No, so if you just say, oh, I just want to see what's going to happen if I do A and B, or A and Z, let's see what happens.
Yeah. You just go with the flow. And I think the key to doing that is like to not overthink too much, which I'm so guilty of doing that all the time. But when you try stuff and then it gives you like that confidence in yourself, and then you just like roll with that and it keeps growing, and then it like helps you get out of your comfort zone even more each
Mhm.
time. And you're just like looking at things as like an experiment, like you said, like you're just going with it. You're just seeing what happens, and what's the worst that could happen. You know how to do something new, but it wasn't for you. So you're going to move on to the next thing,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, there were lots of things I've done that were like, okay, well, that didn't work, but I've learned, that's what I've
Exactly.
told one of my daughters, told her the same thing. It's like she went for a whole master's degree in art therapy. Ended
Mhm.
up, she really didn't like the counseling. Didn't pay in the area that she lives either very well at all.
Yeah.
And so she went back to school for illustrative design and she loves it. She's having a ball with,
Yeah.
finishing up this degree now. And it's like, okay, well, I said, but don't throw that out.
Right.
Don't
Because she
throw
might
out the
use it
other
later.
experience because it may come into play later on. It's like everything that we've done, just know that they're all there. They're like tools in the toolkit. Maybe you don't always use the one tool, that one Hickey McDougall thing. As I would tell my husband, it's like, what's that Hickey McDougall thing? It's like, maybe you don't use it all the time, right?
Mhm.
Like maybe you're always using the screwdriver and the hammer, but maybe you don't use whatever, the tire pressure gauge. I don't know, whatever.
Right.
That's his job. But no, it's
Yeah.
like maybe it's a tool that you don't use all the time, but there may come one time when you're talking with someone, maybe you're working with a client, maybe you're working with a student, and bing, it comes right into your head and you share that idea or you share whatever that was.
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah. It's just like when you go through lessons in life, like you don't know why you went through that, why you had to learn that. But at some point later down the line, it's going to come into play and you can help somebody else. And that's
indeed.
what's it, that's what it's all about. So,
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you one more question.
okay.
What does peaceful wellness mean to you?
Peaceful wellness. Well, I really
Besides
like,
the name of my business in the podcast, but what does it mean to you?
yeah. Peaceful wellness means just like being at peace and having that peace transcend into all the areas of your life, and knowing that there's a plan, and you're doing the very best with everything that you have, and just being able to, like, not being hard on yourself, being open to the different things that are going to come into your life, and just knowing that no matter what, like, you'll have like that string of peace within you, because you're well within your soul.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So the book's coming out December 17th.
Yeah.
Amazon Kindle, just on Kindle.
Yes. Yes. Mhm.
And Recognize Your Inner Badass.
Mhm.
So we'll look forward to that. What about if our listeners wanted to connect with you online?
They can follow me on Instagram. It's just at Lauren Lovan, and
Lovan.
Lovan. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I'm at.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lauren, for being with me today. I truly, truly appreciate it. Once again, Lauren Lovan was with me today for this episode of Peaceful Wellness. And I thank you, listeners, for being with me. And as always, I wish you much peace. Thank you for joining with me today. For my weekly classes, meditation and modalities on-demand library, self-study courses, and private sessions, visit my website at peacefulwellness.org.